We're live.
We're live.
Woo! We are live.
Conversations.
We're gonna wait for people, as they say, to come into the room.
And let the people in.
Let the people in.
How do you know if people are watching this?
Or you go to your Okay, I think you can go to my page and then start a watch party on your page.
Okay, go to your page. Okay, hold. I'm like really not good.
I know. Hey, Anthony McClown. Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to your page.
Hey, everybody.
Hey, everybody.
Hi, Aaron Crouch. Yes, Antonio. All right.
Okay. I see us live, and then I do what? I share.
Share to your page or start a watch party on your page.
Share now. Share to my story or just share?
Your page.
Share now. Okay. Hopefully it's working.
It says share the video. Hey, everybody. Welcome. Happy Thursday. Happy Thursday.
Oh my gosh. This is going to be exciting.
Yes. Hi, Deirdre. Hey, Alan. Hey. Oh my God. LaTanya Moore just sang The House completely down. Absolutely completely down for the LA Opera. Well, it wasn't in her living room. It was at a church. Beautiful. Hey, Markham. Oh, yes. She was incredible. So share the video, everybody. Start sharing to your page.
Yeah, share the video. I'm Mr. Technology is not my friend. Oh, love your glasses. Thanks. Yes, love our glasses.
Yes, our glasses. Yes. Thank you for everybody coming back every Thursday at 8 p.m. Kiki Conversations live on Facebook. Yes. We have the fabulous Matthew Ozawa, director extraordinaire. Here debuting on Kiki Convos.
Thanks for having me.
I'm happy for you to be here. So of course, we literally just met, right? Like how many months ago? Has it been months? First of all, we got to toast. We can't start. We got to toast.
Toast.
All right, what are we toasting to? This is show number 20.
Show number 20. Happy 20th.
Yes, show number 20. So we're going to toast to 20 plus more. We're going to toast to people putting their masks on and staying their ass in the house.
Socially distancing.
Keeping
it positive during a time of pandemic.
Right? Absolutely. We're going to toast to all of us sobering up and getting back to work. No more fun. We got to get serious. And toasting to us working together.
Yes.
Very soon. Yes. Cheers. Yes, ma'am, Pam.
Lovely.
Yes. So, I think
you took off the glasses. Serious.
This is serious until I can't see my questions, and I have to put my glasses back on. Old lady. So I don't know if I don't think I saw a production. I think I saw a video and some photos of your beautiful work. And I was like, who is this person that I don't know, that I've not gotten the opportunity to work with? And I've loved your work. I've watched some of your videos and things. And my friend Ben, I was like, you got to hook me up with Matthew Ozawa because I need to know him. We met briefly in Minneapolis.
Yes.
Did you see the Carmen was it inside or outside?
I didn't. No. Yes, I saw it. There was a big storm. And so it got moved inside from outside. So I saw the inside version, which wasn't quite like the version.
No, it was just loud and crazy. But no, I told my friend Ben, I was like, you have to introduce me to Matthew Ozawa because I need to know him. Like, he needs to be my friend. And We talked on the phone and we hit it off, and we've been besties ever since.
Yes, the rest is history.
The rest is history. And so, like, you're so fabulous. You've worked at San Francisco Opera, Lyric Opera Chicago, Minnesota, MOT, Michigan Opera Theater, HGO. I mean, tremendous resume at such a young age with incredible artists, by the way. You know,
Great people. Yes. I've been really lucky.
yes, incredible premieres and productions. And so, I mean, what can one say? What can one say? What can,
Who is this person?
who is this person? Tell us who you are.
Who am I? Who am I? Right? I ask my students that all the time. I say, who are you? Where are you? Why are you? Right?
Right.
Always asking the questions. Who am I? Okay, so I'm Matthew Ozawa. I will say what's kind of crazy is I actually have been in the industry now for almost 17 years.
Wow.
So, I look really young, but Asians don't age. And so, it's like perpetual youth, but I do get older. My back was totally busted like a year and a half ago, had to have crutches and a cane.
Oh, gosh.
Last year when I directed at Lyric, I had to have a cane and a rolly chair. So that was really exciting. But anyway, so yeah, I got my start at the Santa Fe Opera 17 years ago. And it's been such an interesting journey that has been completely wonderful. I feel blessed and fortunate to have been around and observed, as well as interacted, as well as eventually directed so many incredibly talented singers and technicians, and been a part of so many amazing companies to tell stories, right? That's what we do, is we share and tell stories through the power of the human voice. And of course, what better art form than opera, which is the synthesis of all the art forms. So you have, music, which is like first and foremost, you have theater, you have movement and dance and visual arts, and you have all of it, which makes it so captivating. And of course, there are no microphones. Feel like now I'm a pitch, advertising opera, but it is so beautiful. And so what's interesting is, as a kid, I was taken to the San Diego Opera dress rehearsals. It's like eons ago. And I saw everything from, Werther, Eugene Onegin, Rappaccini's daughter, Lucia de Lammermoor, like kind of obscure stuff for a kid. I think I was 8, 10, 8. And I saw everything. And something that they did is that they always took the curtain out during intermission, and they allowed you to see the magic that went behind the scenes as they were moving the scenery around, clearing the snow, spraying the air, so that there was some humidity for the singers. Right. And I remember being so mesmerized and captivated by what was happening behind the scenes, that little did I know, many, many years later, I would end up in this profession. And and also, we'll probably have a big conversation about this, but like in it as a person of color, which is a different experience. And it's been a very kind of up and down road, right? It hasn't been super smooth, but it has been, an environment where I've just kept going because I love it, and I love the stories. Are you there?
Yeah, I am. You froze.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay.
Oh, my internet. I was like, uh-oh.
That's okay. You just moved to Chicago. Like literally.
Just moved to Chicago. Yes, moved back to Chicago. So I lived here for 9 years. When I first got my job at the Lyric Opera of Chicago, when I was very baby, I moved to Chicago. When I first moved here, the notorious story is that I lived with prostitutes. I didn't know that they were prostitutes when I moved to Chicago. I was like a kid, right? Like I had no idea. And yes, they knocked on my door at like 2 a.m. They were very, very young. He had advertised the room. He said he was gay. I'm gay. And he was like, we'll be fast friends.
Right.
I get to the room, it's like a cot in a little room, and I'm like, oh wait, your girlfriend is living with us, so you're not gay, maybe you're bi, I don't know,
Right.
whatever, it's fine.
Right.
And
No
I'm
judgment.
starting at Lyric, and at 2 a.m. they knock on the door and they're like, hey, can we talk to you? And I'm like, yeah, sure, what's up? And they were like, we're wondering if it's okay if we bring clients home. And I'm like, oh, like you make your own jewelry and you want people to come and see it live and like you're selling jewelry. And they're like, no. We charge $250 for a half hour. We only service men and we come as a package. And I mean, I was so speechless. I was like, wait, what? And they said we normally make out calls, and we, they said they had rented a hotel room for a day. Then they just started college. They were making out calls. They feel it's too dangerous. They'd rather the clients come to the apartment. And I'm like, oh,
What?
what? Like, no, we don't want like a wait line of people, in the living room when I'm coming home from opera.
Yes.
And they were like, okay, we respect your decision. And then 3 days later, I was at Lyric and I got a text message that was like, hey, dude, when are you going to be home? We need to earn some money. And I was like, whoa, like, I thought we said no clients at the home, right? That it's going to make me an accomplice. And it became a whole thing. And so what ended up happening is I slept at Lyric Opera of Chicago. Don't tell them.
Okay.
They're
not listening.
Even though we're live and this is recorded. But like I slept in the stage management office. And I remember the next day I was in the same clothes. And I had a series of bad housing incidences. It's sort of like I'm notorious for really bad housing incidences, but really doing well, with my career. And so this is weird kind of, Libra back and forth. So anyway, a friend at Lyric Opera Chicago was like, you're moving out of this apartment right now. And today we drove to the apartment. I packed up my stuff and they were like, where are you going? I'm like, I didn't sign a contract, Elise, and your parents don't know that you're a prostitute. So I think you should just let me go and find someone new. Anyway, sorry. So that was, I lived in Chicago for 9 years. That was the start to my, Chicago time.
No one knows what we have to go through when we go to work. No one knows the burdens that we're carrying. Living
I know. I know. Wow. It's like,
good Lord.
You never know what you're gonna get. It's like you might have. I've had pack rats, thousands of red flying ants in one place. I've had, like a room in someone's house that was connected to their kitchen where they had a lock. Could open it from their side, and they would come in at like 3 a.m. to say like, hey, we have some old milk. Do you want it? While I'm sleeping, right? So like it's, yes.
It's a thing. It's
being an artist, living in all these different places. It's a thing. Yes,
it's a thing. It's a part of the job, right?
It is a part of the job.
So why opera? I mean, you said you watched a lot of opera. Was it as a child, like a young person? Okay.
Child. I was in the children's chorus a couple of times at San Diego Opera. However, I remember that all my friends were cast in Werther, and I was not cast in Werther. Remember, we went to see the show, and I asked my mom. I said, "Hey, why can't I be up there?" And she's like, "You know what? The real reason, and what they told me, is that because you're not white." Right? Like we need white kids with blonde hair in Werther and don't fit the model. And I think that's when I knew like, oh, performance is never going to be for me on stage. There maybe are operas that I would maybe be barred from, or at least worlds that they're wanting to create that I would not really fit into. And so simultaneously, I was learning to play the clarinet. The clarinet was sort of inherited from the family. And I actually spent the next 14 years playing the clarinet, and I went to Oberlin Conservatory for clarinet performance.
Oh, look at you. Wow.
Yeah, so, I'm a musician first and foremost. I did all the music theory classes, music theory 1, 2, 3, 4, gamut, and I loved music. I've always loved performing it in an orchestra. I love the aspect of collaboration, and there's something about being in it. You feel the vibrations, you're tuning with people, you are making music, right? And music transcends language. I mean, it's just totally, totally incredible. And so then I got to college, and our studio teacher, he said, hey, all of you will either be teaching the clarinet because there are no positions in any orchestras, and when a position becomes available, there are tons of other accomplished clarinetists who will take those positions. So you'll be teaching, or you'll be working in McDonald's because you have no other education. And they were like, if you think there might be something else you want to do, you should do it.
Yes.
And so I said, okay, check please. Check please. I'm out the door.
Right.
And I ended up going to the theater department, studying straight acting, Shakespeare, theater, movement, while simultaneously getting my music degree. So I got a degree in both theater and music. And so opera made sense, right? It was like, hey, I can read music. That became a big asset early on.
Some directors can't do that.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yes, and some directors need a CD booklet, right?
So I have been directed by someone who used that.
Yeah, and that's a whole thing about, I mean, I feel passionately that we need more American directors. The sort of mentorship and cultivating of American directors, I would say, has changed a lot. And I sort of walked into the industry when I think directors who followed one director and remounted all of their shows and then eventually were doing lots of work. By the time I was entering the industry before the economy crashed in 2008, there still was sort of like the glory days of bringing back productions from the 70s and 80s. There was still a really beautiful tradition in place, and a lot of I think there's different kinds of directors in opera, but it was sort of the director who's remounting existing work at the major houses, watching them work, watching, how these traditional pieces were put together, decades before I came in. But then what happened is, then the economy crashed and everything started to change. Mentorship kind of went out the window, and a lot of directors went into ADing, which is very different in terms of skill sets from being a director, and creating and being, creating vision from nothing. Because ADing is so administrative. You're dealing with schedules and unions and blocking, in addition to maintaining a show, and you're on multiple shows simultaneously. So yeah, it was interesting. So I mean, I feel like I got a great training in stage management. From Jen Good at San Francisco Opera and Rupert Hemmings at LA Opera. I mean, they were literally my fairy godparents.
Yes.
Who spotted me, and they were like, hey, come into stage management. And, the whole thing kind of exploded. But, when we're looking at diversifying who works in opera, and like, why are there no, Black directors, Black administrators, Black, like, where is everybody else behind the scenes? I think it's because there isn't the pipeline that allows people to move in a systematic fashion to be able to be given opportunity.
Yes.
And so, I would say that for a long time, I never thought I would make it as a director, right? It felt very precarious, and it felt like it was sort of, don't want to give you a job if they haven't seen your work.
Absolutely. And I was going to ask you.
But then how do you?
Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry, baby.
No, go ahead. No,
I was thinking, how does one become a director? Like you said, the pipeline. And it's the same thing with, I think, African American opera singers, in a way, where the pipeline from maybe the schools that don't have big music programs, like if you go to a school that doesn't even have an opera program, it's like, how do you get into a young artist program? How do you get seen? How do you get the preparation for the big competitions, and all of these things? But like, how does one become a director? You can have a desire, but it doesn't mean that it's actually gonna happen.
Right. And I mean, a director, it's interesting because, of course, the conductor is sort of God
Right.
in a rehearsal room, and directors, that art form has changed over the course of opera history.
Mm-hmm.
And so where we find ourselves now with directors is, directors obviously are kind of like the co-captain with the conductor steering the ship, whereas the conductor is purely focused on the music and interpretation and language and line.
Mm-hmm.
I view myself as also a musician, but through a visual lens, right? Like everything that we're doing is through how people are moving in space, where they are on stage, what is the color of lighting, what is the architecture around them, the kind of kinesthetic response and relationships that people have with one another
Yes.
is curated by a director. And I think that whenever I read reviews by reviewers, it's like no one really understands the director's role or the sort of collaborativeness nature of being a director, right? Of
Mm-hmm.
course, you have different kinds of directors. You have like the dictatorial director who's going to tell you how to move, what to
Mm-hmm.
do, where to turn your head. Then you're going to have the director who's sort of like organic approach, do whatever you want,
Mm-hmm.
and then we'll be done. And I think that there's a marrying of the two where you need to meet each artist where they are at that moment in time. You need to approach the text and the story per where we are in our contemporary time and who is watching it, right? Who is our opera for?
Mm-hmm.
But that's, like kind of the art of directing, but like
Mm-hmm.
becoming, like getting there,
Yes.
a lot of it is related to, I think, many people come from theater who become directors.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there's, I think, in opera, it's so specialized that many ADs will then head into direction. But I
Mm-hmm.
think the hardest thing is taking tradition and sort of reigniting and looking at it through a new lens,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right? And honoring what has come before us, who's come before us, as we embark on a new way that opera can exist in the future.
Absolutely. And as we both know, and many people may or may not know, you are the only Asian
Oh
American.
no, I can't hear you.
Can you not hear me? What happened?
What happened?
Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Oh
Wait,
no.
is that just
Did you
me?
come
What
in?
is happening?
Did you do so? I can hear you. Oh no.
No, what is happening?
Can you hear me?
Audience, can you hear Karen?
Can you hear us? Hello? I think my cats might have taken the. Hello, hello. Can you hear us?
Oh man, what
Can
happened?
you hear?
It could be just my.
I'm gonna go out. I'm gonna tell you to go out and come back.
Okay, do you want me to come out? Go out?
Mm-hmm. I don't know what happened. What happened, everybody? Yes, we can hear me. You can hear Matthew. Yes, go out and come back. We can hear both of you. We can hear Karen. Now you can hear me. Lord knows what happened. Yes, we're coming back. We were getting good. It was getting good. Matthew, I can't see you. You're in the dark, darling.
Oh,
Oh
okay.
my God, we're back.
Oh
Are
my
we
God, we're
back?
back. We're
Okay.
back. Woo! That was a little terrifying.
Listen, can y'all hear me? No.
Yes, I
Hey,
think
Josepha, yes.
we can hear you both.
Okay, you can hear
Okay.
us both.
Sorry,
There
that
was
was
a
on my end.
No, oh, that's fine. Listen, we are not professionals. This is not a professional studio yet.
Yet.
Universe. But there was a cat fight that just ensued in front of the studio. In front of the studio. So it could have been anything. Now he's gone. Good Lord, Matthew, you're gone again. Oh my God, I have to call him. Where are you, darling? I'm calling him right now. Y'all know opera singers and opera people should not be doing. He said he can hear everyone. Now he's gone. He's a black screen. You're a black screen, Matthew. So So, okay, are you coming? Now he's gone again. Anyway, welcome back. Hi, Alice. How are you? Oh my God, Matthew said, I lost you again. Good Lord. We were just getting started. We were just getting started. Let's see if he'll come back. Hi, Kenny. I know. Come back, Matthew. I tried to call him. And the call, well, I'm still drinking my champagne. How's everybody's day today? What did y'all do today? Okay, Matthew's ready. Because I was just going to have a question and answer. Let's see. Okay, you're going to be live. Live.
Oh my word. Oh my word.
Oh my word. I was just about to like send somebody else the link and tell them to come on the show.
You were like, Ozawa, you are history. Goodbye.
Okay, I tried to call you, I couldn't get you. Somebody else was about to.
Oh my god.
To be
Oh
a
my god.
guest.
That's like the industry. For a long time I was like, 1 minute you're in, the next minute you're out. Avita Zane, right? Project
Right, right. 1 minute they're like your phone's blowing up. Next minute you're like,
hello.
hello. Oh no, it's not. Oh no. You know, you're sitting on the couch like, oh God, oh God, oh God. Is that an email? You know?
Right. Do I have a job?
Do I have
Can
a
I keep doing
job?
what I was doing?
Nope, COVID. There you go.
COVID. Plus, audience, I did move, so I'm in a new apartment. There's like it's all kind of crazy over here on my end. So
That's
sorry.
okay. Nobody's getting a coin to do this. We are just gonna have some fun.
We are having fun. We are luckily
Have
drinking
fun.
while we're
Yes, exactly. Just have more drinks. That's it.
Woo.
Yeah.
Okay.
So where
What were
were
you
you?
saying? I know you were talking and I just couldn't hear because my internet was.
No, it's just about like how you become a director and I was saying that you are the only Asian American director. Is that true?
So no, but
Opera
I'm
director
I'm the only Asian American opera director with traction.
with traction.
So there are others who are really, Mozo, Richard Gammon, like there are other
Mhm.
Asian American directors who are in the industry who are, working to move up.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
I think the big thing that many POCs who are hoping to get a job is like they are fearful of saying anything or being considered difficult, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so it's like you're tightrope walking to hopefully keep
Mhm.
going.
Well, hopefully that day is over. Hopefully we can say the things. And yes, Russell is almost as bad as your laptop dying, but not. Go watch the video. Go watch the video. But yes, hopefully there is a day where we don't have to walk this tightrope and be afraid to express the things that were going on or the you know offenses that happen to us, and all these things. And hopefully everyone understands that. And hopefully people realize that you should not be the only one. You should not be out there doing all of the butterflies, which we can talk about, that
Yes, yes.
as well. And why it's closed. Why is the system closed to diversity for Asian Americans?
Right. And I think that goes back to the question of like, how do you become a director? Well, it's so specialized and specific. And because so many of these companies, so much money is at stake, the rehearsal times are short, the union contracts are complicated with regards to how do you make the art within the time frame,
Mm-hmm.
the tradition, the way things have been, staged, these things sort of like mix with each all of it to
Mm-hmm.
be able to kind of walk in the door. And so, this idea of walking in the door, but then see and be seen and get a
Mm-hmm.
voice at the table, right? And usually you don't get the voice at the table until people feel comfortable with you and your voice and can trust you. So trust is like another component is, and then, I mean, but then let alone the fact that, like, for example, when I see butterfly, usually I'm horrified, right? Like that does not represent my culture. I'm Japanese American. That does not represent like how I see the East-West conflict. And so because of that, it's like I think that also opera sometimes there's a barrier to entry because you don't necessarily see yourself out there and you don't see your stories being told. And so I think that, part of it is opening the door. I think part of it is allowing people to tell their stories and to be given seats at the table and to have their voice be heard and allow them to say what they need to say, to be able to then kind of be included, to create equity, and like to see more. I think more perspectives is always a better thing.
Absolutely. I mean, I feel like there's like three things that I want to say about what you just said. The fact that the trust value, as if only whiteness is the thing that is acceptable in the space to be trusted, which is something that we need to get rid of. We need to get rid of the fact that only whiteness is the standard of excellence, is the color of excellence, and everyone else is like kind of everything falls under whiteness. And so I think that acknowledging that and knowing that that is the issue, then we need to nip it in the bud. The other thing is who gets to tell the stories, which is something that I'm constantly always, as a storyteller and not just a singer, I consider myself a storyteller. Um, I, because you and I we were talking about a project, and we were talking about something that was very specifically a Black story, but I wanted you to tell this particular story because I wanted to work with you, and I thought, I think you're magnificent and you're fabulous. And then I go, oh shit, like that's an opportunity taken away from a Black director and a Black storyteller that I should be giving that opportunity to. But then I go, well, then I have to find something that Matt and I can do together. Then I go, well, what in the actual hell? Like it gets so complicated in that way. And and then also that whiteness can tell any story, and all the rest of us have to, look at the boxes, and then if whatever box we check, that's the one we get to do.
Yeah. Like, I have been offered so many pearl fishers, butterflies, turn dots, right? That it's a little, and luckily I was at a place, or I've been in a place in my career where I'm like, no, I will not do your orange face pearl fishers.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's, or I will not do X, Y, and Z on existing sets and costumes that are completely offensive. But you're right. It's like, I think that there's I think you and Stephanie were talking about this last week, this idea of like being boxed. Right? Like, I think there's a level of people like to box in each other, like to kind of narrow it to make it easy for them to understand how you fit in and where you could, be hired,
Right.
versus thinking broadly and looking broadly for those that are out there that are not being seen or heard. Right? People exist and people have talent. It's just a matter of opening that space to have that conversation, giving an opportunity. And look, like, I'm all about like, okay, maybe there are layers where maybe someone needs to at least observe or assist and direct first, and then you allow them to move into this and this and this until eventually they're directing at Lyric Opera Chicago or some major opera house.
Right.
Like, I know that jumping from zero to that is like,
It's a thing, right?
it would be insane. But I also think that if we're only hiring European, teams and directors and productions, and of course they're brilliant and they are funded differently, and there's a different allowance for creativity, I think that we then diminish the ability to have an American scene that is representative of the diversity that exists within the country.
Yes, and we should be always pushing to have that as the one of the things at the top. People need to see themselves represented. And I know that you and I talked about. I know you're interdisciplinary artist, and you are beyond opera. You do work beyond opera, and I wonder, did that come from your frustration? Because you did talk about leaving opera at one point. So talk about being like, I'm done.
Done. I'm done. It I love all artistic disciplines, right? I always have, and I've loved working with people. And I lived in Singapore for 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
So, I lived internationally. I went to a British high school. I was actually the only American in the British high school. They made me change my accent. I had a full on British accent when I came back to the US. But like I was able to be around so many different cultures. Singapore is a melting pot of cultures. Every sign is
Mm-hmm.
in, Malay, Tamil, Mandarin, and English.
Mm-hmm.
You walk down the street and you're like, there's a Hindu temple, there's a Muslim temple, there's a Catholic church. There, it's like everything is there, and it really illuminated my eyes to the fact that the world is so vast,
Yeah.
that
Mm-hmm.
culture is different everywhere, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
I don't chew gum still to this day because it was illegal in Singapore. So, like someone would be like, "Hey, you want to stick a gum?" And I'm like, "Oh my God, no, no, please."
Right, right. They're gonna come and get me and lock me up.
Right. They're gonna cane me, right? But
Mhm.
that's like a cultural thing,
Right.
and so then it's like when I'm in opera, which to me should be multicultural.
Mm-hmm.
I think part of it are those barriers. I think that there are moments where I have left for periods of time to say, okay, like I do feel stuck. I feel like I'm literally the only Asian in the building.
Mm-hmm.
I feel that I'm so passionate about this and I have no outlet to bring this artistry or this passion. And so then I've
Mm-hmm.
said, okay, what else is out there? And so that is usually when I started my own company. Mozawa was a collaborative incubator for art and artists. That the space was for artists of all medium to be able to work together in a space for collaborative interactions where there's no hierarchy, where every
Mm-hmm.
artist is deemed equal, and where anything that's created is possible. And what's magical about that is that you get art that you would never ever think about in any other setting because usually there's a hierarchy,
Right.
right? There's like a system of who has power and who's furthest from that power.
Yes.
Um, and then what's funny is as soon as like I started my own company, then the opera companies were like, "Hey, that's an amazing website. Oh, you're doing really interesting work. Come over to opera."
Mm.
Right? And it was like,
Yeah.
"Oh, okay." And then like directing was moving forward, but then then people started to box me in again to say, "Oh, do the pearl fishers, do the turtles, do the butterflies." And
They just didn't get it. They didn't pay attention. They weren't paying attention.
to what else I offer, right? It's like
Right.
you know, and the thing is that look, like I have been conflicted about this because I think that I do have a perspective as a Japanese American that is different from any other director who's directing Butterfly.
Mm-hmm.
Just because of my understanding of Japanese culture,
Right.
like going to a tea ceremony doesn't make you an expert, which I heard one director say was like, "Oh, I went to a tea ceremony. This is how you kneel and bow." It's like, that would be appropriation, right? Because
Right.
um, but and I have like my dad was actually born in an internment camp at the end of World War II in
Mm.
America.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow. Talk about that. Talk about what that was like.
So it wasn't something that we talked about so much in the family.
Mm-hmm.
My family was incarcerated. They could only take what they could carry. Each of the siblings, we have like one item that was taken to the camp that we like have that's sort of like for our heritage that
Mm-hmm.
really is very personal. And my dad was like a preemie baby. He wasn't meant to live. He was put in like a wood box, and miraculously he survived.
Oh, wow.
And so then, growing up, yeah, I mean, it's so like powerful that it's like, okay, despite adversity, this, baby survived. And then my grandparents passed away like right as I was born.
Mm-hmm.
And so much of my upbringing was, being as American and as assimilated as possible,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and I really didn't dig back into my cultural heritage until I moved to Singapore when I was surrounded by Asians.
Mm-hmm.
Even though I always loved, Japanese food. But, I think that, when I look at Butterfly, I
Mm-hmm.
see the history of how people of color have been treated within the US. So how I approach butterfly is different than how a Japanese person's going to see it. Right. And I hear that a lot too of like, oh, well, the Japanese community love it. Right. They think it's,
Right.
just fabulous. And I'm like, well, they weren't interned. Right. Like they were not American citizens who were then put behind pens, put behind cages and, suffered cold winters and horrible weather as an American within the country.
American.
Right. And I think so that has an impact on how we then view this material.
Right. Yes, the same thing with Porgy and Bess. I think it's like, you have your people who love it, and they have the pride, and then you have other people who have the shame, and then there's of course this gigantic sea of middle,
Right.
where people think many different ways, but the two extremes, some people see the beauty of the culture up there, and then some people see that's not who I want to remember, that's not who we are, that's not, what we want to be, how we want to be represented on the stage,
Right.
and so similarly culturally, I do understand it. I've not gotten the opportunity to do butterfly yet, but doing it with someone like you who has such that rich history in the culture, and also a very definitive perspective from history, from where your parents raised you,
Right.
it will change the way you interpret the whole piece.
Yeah. And but then simultaneously it's like, well, I don't only want to be asked to do butterfly.
Of course not. And talk about this discrimination, and how we move past that, and how it will be different, because there will be certain things that will not be accepted when we open back up.
Right. Right. And I think that there is so much beauty in our industry, right? There are so many beautiful people, and I feel like I have such a strong core network of individuals who are artisans who, we've been decimated by the pandemic, and especially it's, we're in a place where everything can change, right? Where there's so much possibility, because we actually cannot return to what was.
No.
Because it can't exist that way. And there are artists that may not come back to the industry. There are artists who we may have lost, who were just entering in, who have so much talent, who because of COVID are now going to go in a totally different career path. And I think that part of it is like, we have to have hope. We have to work together as a community. Yes, there are many, many different opinions on how we move forward.
Yes.
But I think part of it is having the communication and the discussions, having transparency on like what the practices have been and how we might, modify them and shift them. And then ultimately, what other stories do we start to tell?
Right. Yes. And what are the stories you want to? What are the stories you want to see? What are the stories that you want to see and what you want to tell?
Yeah, I mean, I am in an interesting phase where I have been so kind of awakened by the Black Lives Matter movement, in the sense that my own rose-colored glasses from the industry kind of came off. And I suddenly have been thinking, wait, well, like, who is furthest from the power? What stories are out there, right? And what communities don't feel welcome to walk into that opera house? And I'm actually passionate about meeting people, right? And saying like, what are the stories, right? That you have experienced, that you want told. In terms of what stories I want to tell, like, I would love to direct more work that was more multicultural and allowed for more disciplines and highly collaborative. I think that that work is being done, but like, I think more could be done.
Absolutely. And I think the more of them will, if general directors and artistic directors are open and courageous to open our industry up to the most multidisciplinary art forms, bringing back art, visual art, bringing back dance, bringing back the spoken word in opera. I think that
Yeah.
that's how we also, outreach and bring people into our culture, but also letting our donors, the people who write the checks, teaching them as well, because they're going to have to be re-educated and have to be encouraged to support the new art form, and how it looks now.
Right. And I also think that there's an element of like, hey, say we do the traditional works, which I think are beautiful and very valid,
Mm-hmm.
that it's about reinterpreting what they mean through an American lens.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That like we have to actually reinvestigate what these stories are, that the like misogyny or the, racism and the, appropriation, that is not okay. And so we have to like look at what is there and how to sort of reinvent it without destroying the tradition, right? But like
Mm-hmm.
there's a possibility of shifting it. I also
Yes.
believe, in frugal engineering, where like you don't need tons of money, right? Like I know that opera is all about spectacle, and I love
Mm-hmm.
spectacle, and I love hundreds and hundreds of people, but I also feel that there's a way to tell stories with little
Mm-hmm.
that can be so powerful,
Yes.
because performers are so powerful. What you do is so incredible that
Yeah.
we actually sometimes don't need all this other stuff around you to have be really like hard hitting. And so, I am kind of a minimalist. So I'm like, take it
Mm-hmm.
away, take the product away.
Right. It's like going out and having all the accoutrement and then having to take all the bracelet and the ring, extra rings and the,
Yeah,
extra hairpiece or whatever that is.
right, right.
Yeah. I think artists today, singers today have the skill set and have been required to do more, to show up, to tell the story at its truth, and more than just like the niche, like, oh, there's certain people who are, singing actors. Well, there's more people, there are more, and with the onset of all this video and all these things that are going on like YouTube, like, you can't really get away with just singing pretty. You've got to do more.
Yeah. And oftentimes for me, it's like when a singer is really there, is present, like it's okay if there's some mistakes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's just so
Please say
powerful because
that.
they're
Please say that again, because this whole thing of like being perfect, this whole thing of like not being able to make mistakes and having to nail it the first, like, please say that again, as a director, as a leader.
yeah, I mean, look, I'm Asian, so I feel like I've lived my life wanting to be perfect. But
Yeah.
there is a philosophy in Japan where everything needs one imperfection within it, right? Ikebana flower arrangement, you usually will put in one flower in like the wrong direction
Mm-hmm.
because you need some imperfection. Same with the pottery, there needs to be an imperfection. I am a firm believer that we are a live medium, right? We're not yes, we are recording it now and we can
Mm-hmm.
affect things, but like there's beauty in what someone is bringing to the table right then and there that you cannot capture at any moment. You like have to be present. And I
Mm-hmm.
firmly believe that when singers are fully present with their body, their instrument, and with the audience, you don't it doesn't matter if there's like a little crack or wobble or if there's a little something, because
Mm-hmm.
actually we are human, right? We're filled with imperfections, we
Yeah.
make mistakes. And I think that there's a beauty to the fact that we're watching, you know stories being and not perfect.
Mm-hmm.
So the way that these instruments, manifest, of course, are shifted moment by moment by moment.
Mm-hmm.
um,
Absolutely.
and that there is no perfection, right? I mean, it's
No.
just that's an impossibility.
Absolutely. It doesn't even exist. We had a question from Michael Lewis, the wonderful Michael Lewis. In your opinion, why don't more people go to the opera? How can we use this time of monumental shifts and transitions to bring a wider audience and sustain that?
I mean, I think there's a lot of reasons why people don't go to the opera. I mean, I think
sometimes it's just not good. Like sometimes it's just not good.
yeah, I wasn't gonna say it, but
I'm
yeah,
going to say
sometimes.
it. We need to keep it real so we can do better.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, sometimes it's not good, and I think sometimes they're like, hey, you're gonna like stage it in a day, and bam, suddenly it's gonna be great. Well, no, it's really not great. People are just gonna like wander around and just go on autopilot, right? But I think some of it is the cost. Right? Like we've got to be honest that opera usually costs a lot of money to go to. So that's like a big thing. Yeah, Heather's like it can be so boring, right? I
Yeah.
mean, it's like when I think when the directing is not on, when singers are not present, when it's like just not there, well then yeah, it's not super interesting to watch. It also they're very, very long. Right.
Yeah.
So it's like in a time where we're so used to social media and getting instant gratification, like bam, bam, whatever we want, order it and it comes in 2 days and blah, 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 blah. Like the idea of being patient and sitting there and being present with the space and the sound, like that's becoming more and more a foreign thing. So it's like we have the cost, we have the stories, we have, so many interesting things in the conversation thing.
Yeah, but I mean, we can interact with people. That's what we want
Yeah.
that.
But it's like I think in terms of how do you shift that during this momentum, and then how do you change it, right? And also the fact that these stories often like you don't see yourself in these pieces, or there's like blatant misogyny, and you're like, ooh, why?
Right.
Why do all these women have to die over and over and over again? It's I think some of it is like we've got to shift it. We've got to shift our storytelling. We've got to lower prices, which I know so much of the industry like counts on the ticket sales in addition to donor relations. We have to shift, who are our donors, who are a part of our boards, how are we marketing it, who are we marketing it to, and how do we create a safe space, right, for people who would be nervous to walk in. If everyone's in tuxedos, well, then it's just unfortunately not a safe space, because you have to have a tuxedo, and it represents status, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, versus like, well, why can't people be allowed to just like wear their jeans and come in their street clothes? And yes, accessibility is so necessary. And like way back in the day, right, like people used to eat and drink and talk during opera, and so now it's become so like you have to be silent and you have to clap at certain moments. And what if the spirit, what if you don't, what if you're engaging it in a different way? What if you want to clap someone's incredible performance, even though it's like you're not meant to, like what if you want to, I don't know. I just think that there are too many things that are telling people they have to behave in a certain way, when I think we have to say, hey, this should be a home for everybody. And someone may be bored and someone may totally be loving every moment and be eating popcorn, but we are all engaged with it and we're with each other, right? It's like a symbiotic relationship, artist and audience. These are like connected, deeply
Connected. I mean, I've been in some really, really amazing productions where no one breathed, no one took a breath, no one moved, no one. And then when we were able to release, we went crazy.
Yeah.
Like that is a transformative moment, and we need more of those. And I know those things are so special. It's like the perfectly sung performance, right? They just don't happen,
right.
For personally, or if everyone got hit every mark you asked them, and they delve into every moment emotionally that you add. Like it just doesn't happen.
Right.
But we can do this other thing more often than we do. And I understand costs and all these things, and right still, yes, when we start stripping away the production, the expense of the production, then the ticket prices may or may not go down. Of course, we know that that's a whole issue, but then there's some of us who love the traditional lavish grandeur of opera.
But you can also say like, hey, the first Saturday performance is the like, tuxedo, whatever performance. And then you could have a performance at like you can just come to in your jeans, and it's totally okay. And then there's like a family one, and there's so many ways to say, hey, out of the 6 performances that we have, or 3 or 4, like they don't need to all be the same in terms of what that experience can be.
Absolutely. I wear my jeans too. Listen, I wear a fabulous top and a beat face, and
Yeah.
Lord knows what's going on under jeans, whatever, flip flops, whatever the case may be. But
Yeah.
I just think that the more of us that encourage that and demand that from our industry, demand all the things we want to see, hopefully everyone's listening now. They all listening because they don't know what the hell to do.
Right.
Like everyone's worried, like when are we gonna go back? So I think companies and administrators are more open to even listen to the artists in that way to say what it is that we feel like has been missing as
Yeah.
the performers.
Yeah, and I think that the kind of, the question that should always be asked is, who is this for?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, who do you want this to be for?
Yeah.
And then shifting things according to that. If you
Mhm.
only want the 1%, well, then I guess that's, your
Yeah.
prerogative. But
We're gonna
like,
be right back here where we were if we keep
right,
doing the thing. Yeah.
right. But, this should be accessible for all.
Absolutely. I want to talk about some of these social issues because I mean I think my issue is, of course, I always have like 2 or 3 questions in one, but there is the issue of POC, right? Of BIPOC, as people say,
Mhm.
and the equity that comes along with that. And oftentimes we find that, you only hear about black and white. You never really hear other groups speaking up about injustices in a way. And we had a wonderful, wonderful conversation the first time we talked, when we talked about this. And I wanted to share some of that with this audience because I think that when we are in this umbrella, this the of white industry opera or whatever, people only see what they think. They only see what they on the outside. They don't understand the complexities of every community speaking up for their own self and their own issues. And my 2 best friends are Asian, so we have these kind of conversations all the time, and I always feel so exhausted as a Black woman fighting to for equity and equality in these spaces, and never feeling like my friends or other people of color in the industry are as outspoken, and that oftentimes they get the benefits
Mm.
without the cost. And so talk about that as an Asian man, as an Asian American man, and what that.
Yeah. I mean, if we look at the history of Asian American immigrants, and then the relationship between Asians as a minority group within the U.S., we're often categorized as sort of like the model minority, right?
Mhm.
Because many Asians economically are doing well. They go into universities, et cetera, et cetera. But simultaneously, there is the terms the silent minority, right? The Asians tend to be more silent in times where they could be, more
Mhm.
vocal.
Mhm.
And if you look at, like, for example, the Korean and Black relationship in Los Angeles,
Mhm.
right? I mean, that was like
Yeah.
very, very
Oh,
intense,
yes. And still is.
and still
Absolutely.
is, right? And
Yeah.
so, I think that as an Asian male, I feel kind of like sometimes stuck in the middle,
Mhm.
where I want to be super vocal all the time. And right now, and then there's, prior to COVID,
Mhm.
a lot of my vocalization actually was with meetings with heads of companies.
Mhm.
Where I think that I finally have gotten to a place in my career where I can stand up and say, "Hey, this is not okay. Faces, like, shuffling income is not okay, blah blah blah." Like, the some of the racist experiences that
Mhm.
I have experienced are not okay. But it's taken, like, what, so many years to be able to be at a place to say these things and not be so worried that my whole career is going to be over because I've already sort of left the industry and come back.
Right.
And so I think part of it is the fear factor of speaking up and fighting for justice when you may get barred from access back into the thing that you love so much. Right. So that's one thing. And then two, I think something I've been thinking a lot about during the Black Lives Matter is, how much despite the fact that I am a minority and I've experienced racism, and yes, my father was born in an internment camp, is I am not Black, so I cannot I cannot be your story in the sense that, like, I have no right to be like, yes, I'm Black within the community when I'm not, right?
Right.
And so there's an aspect of, like, right now, this is about, like, we need Black directors, we need Black administrators, we need Black conductors, we need, Black costume designers and set designers and costumers and, like, the whole gamut. Because, right, it's, like, missing and it's not okay. Simultaneously, I think that when we are fighting for justice, we actually will be fighting for justice for all colors. And it's like, okay, yes, we need these things. Simultaneously, by allowing access to all these Black artisans to be in the field, we will start to open the gateway to other, POC. And I think that the idea of, like, riding on coattails, because I have heard that or felt that sometimes is, just like riding on someone's coattails and letting them do all the work and then, field. I think that I, at the moment, am a believer in, like, you know what, I want to fight to allow someone of a different generation to not have to go through what I went through,
Right.
and be able to walk through that door no matter what the color of their skin is.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I'm Blasian, so I get the benefits. Like, I'm just kidding. I'm not. I'm not. But when I do get the discount when I go to the beauty supply store, because my lady swears that I look like her daughter. And she's always like, oh my God, every time she sees me. So
right. And there's many people, there are not many, but there are a couple people in the industry who are definitely not Asian that I'm like, you were Asian.
Right.
Like, you were Asian. But the other thing is, right, and this is why this is so complex, is that, there's an intersectionality of identity, right? So, like, no one person is just, like, a easy category. Like, people have lots of complicated aspects that go into their heritage, their race, their culture, their history. And, there might be, a Black individual who looks white. There might be an Asian who looks right. Like, so these things are, you cannot just label someone as something and someone else as something else, when actually this is very, very complicated. And, there might be someone who looks whiter, who has more access, right? But who actually isn't white, or like someone who's Latina and she's being cast as Butterfly because she sort of looks Asian. I mean, these things are, like, really complicated. But I do feel that, like, we should be working to help everybody, right? That, again, I think I brought this up earlier, like, the greater diversity, of thinking and people that we have in our art form, the better it's going to be, the healthier it's going to be.
Absolutely. And I think that, I think that we as minorities, which I hate that word, and I've always hated that word, but okay, whatever. Some people don't like people of color and whatever. I think we need to, as a community of people of color, need to be more supportive of one another and more in tune and entwined in a way, not as a people of color and everyone else, but as a community of shared experiences, shared oppression, shared cultures, in a way that's so beautiful.
Right.
Food, music, art. I mean, come on, and I think that, I know I'm growing up in Philadelphia inner city, you know, there is, particularly Philadelphia, which is very segregated, and you know now it's whatever, you know, the place to be, and all gentrified and everything. But we understand, you know, the underbelly of how these communities work, and so and I just think that we can do better within our arts community, you know.
Yeah.
You know, when I walk out on stage and 75% of the orchestra is Asian and 30% of them I went to Curtis with, you know, I mean, that's how it is. But I think we can all do better to be more, you know, last night Laquita Mitchell gave a fantastic panel of Asian artists, Myra Chong at oh sorry Myra, killed your last name, but Nick Pan and Andrew Stinson, you know, and they talked about so many issues in a way, but you know, and so relevant, and the stories are connected in a way. And I just wish we as a community within our community were even more entwined. Thank you, Alicia.
Yes. Yeah, because I mean we are collaborating in our art form. We're working all, you know, together symbiotically, so we should be, you know, fighting for this together. You know, and I also firmly believe, right, and this may make people annoyed or upset, but like there's also the fact that there is something called privilege, right? And privilege is not just white privilege. Privilege can exist within color. If you are in, you know, like it might be economic privilege, it might be, you know, privilege within the industry. You know, you might be like the one person who's being asked to do every single thing. And so I think that when you have privilege, you have a voice and you have access, so then you have to fight even harder for everybody else.
Yes, speak on it, because when you are the one or the token or whatever people want to call that, you must speak out. You must speak to injustices. You can you know, Latanya, even in her recital today, you know, right before this, she talked about opening up. She used her platform and her position. I know many of us do, you know, to thank you, Russell. You know, to use our platform to say, hey, I'm not the only one that's gifted. You're
Yeah.
not the only one that's gifted. There are other people, you
Yeah.
know, waiting and wanting and eager and ready to
Yeah.
join me, not take my space, but to join with me.
Yes. Yes. And so we have a duty, right? Like we have a duty as spokespeople within the industry, and those again, yes, that are being heard, that have the space, that have the privilege to be able to like talk with heads of companies. Like, yeah, we've got to. It is our duty, right, for the health of our industry to speak up.
Yes, yes, and you have to just stand in, knowing that you are there, and nothing's going to happen. You know, if you do speak up and speak out, now is the time. Now is the moment. Now is the, you know, we don't go back to the way it used to be, because this is to help our industry. This
Yeah.
is not just to help ourselves. This is not to just help the people, you know, who we feel like have been left out. This is to help the industry.
Right.
It's survival. I think it's just it's important. I need another drink.
No, me too. I'm like, oh. Like, where am I? Yes, right? Because we love it, right?
We love it.
Yes, I think that there's also that fear of like, oh my God, if we allow this to happen, then we, you know, what's going to happen to our art form? But it's like, wait a second, we love it. We care about it, right? So it's not that I'm like going to take Butterfly and then, you know, put it in a trash can on the moon with whatever. I mean, it's like, but it's like I really love it. I want the story to be told with integrity, right? Because I want someone who's Asian to like walk in the door and see it and say, "Oh my gosh, that's so beautiful."
Yes.
Instead of I'm horrified and I totally don't relate to the thing.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. What are some of your yeah, what are some of your biggest influences in your art making, and like what yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I would say, oh gosh, there's so many influences, but I would say, you know, a big influence would be Asian theater. I love kabuki. I love no. I love Javanese. I love shadow puppets. I love so many other art forms of Asia that I think that for me has really kind of influenced some of my aesthetic, has influenced, I guess, opera is a little more presentational than theater, has kind of influenced the visual world. Simultaneously, like, I mean, if I'm looking at directors that have sort of been influential, look, they're all white. But it's like, I think that Robert Wilson was influential in the fact that it was so kind of visual and architectural, that I found that aspect interesting, although I know that that's a difficult, like, environment to work within as a performer. I think that there have been many directors that I have really been influenced by in working with them. Obviously, Peter Sellers, his sort of spirit and activism, and his just like go get it. He's like in there, but he's so kind and warm throughout the process. I think that was really, really illuminating to see. We did a show about war veterans, and he was out there on the west side of Chicago, and he was like digging in so that it was not just like the 1% coming in, but that this like things that could connect to communities. And I remember all these veterans came to one of the performances. It was just so kind of really illuminating to have all these individuals there watching a Handel opera, but being really deeply impacted, right? Like they were really impacted by like what Peter had said, and then watching how that was interpreted within a Handel piece. Simultaneously, like I am a deep lover of, music videos, right? I'm like a child of the 80s, so I love music videos, and I love Beyonce, and I'm gay, and I love fabulousness.
We love the Queen Bee.
Yes. Right, and I'm like rainbow glitter. Yeah.
Like Alicia, visual goes beyond the stage. Absolutely.
Yes. Yes, it does. And so I think that those would be influences. And I will say that like I'm also influenced by life daily. Right. I think that as a director, I'm a passionate observer of life and how people behave, how they interact, the psychology of people, and what's happening in the world. And so, I think that I love just watching people outside my window and just see what people do and how they interact. And of course, in a time of pandemic, when it's like, people are wearing masks, some people don't want to, there's like so much craziness going on. It's this like invisible threat. I mean, it's so crazy. It's like human behavior is really,
Oof. Yeah. It's a thing. It is a thing. And it's going to form and shape the future of art making, right? Like, what's gonna look like from a director's, because you're the first director that I've had on the show. And so like outside of what stories you want to tell, like what is it gonna look like?
I know.
Like, are you changing a concept of a gig that you had? Like, would you, because of the time?
Oh yeah. Right. Like I am a believer of things constantly evolving and being modified. Not like once it opens, right? You like hand it over to the singers and you allow them to like grow into it. But, with a concept that's still where things could change. I mean, obviously we're kind of in the question mark of, are things going to be hybrid? Right. And when they're hybrid, what does that mean? I think that right now it's kind of like either it's in person or you're watching it from the beauty of your home. But I actually think, that there's a possibility that we are watching both things happen simultaneously. We could have things that are recorded while people are performing live for other people, whether that is like maybe it's, a drive-in sort of a movie theater experience, but there's actually performers in a stage, socially distanced, and music happening. You're hearing it, but maybe it's also being recorded, so you could partake that, while there might be a video component of someone who is maybe international and can't be brought in. I mean, I think that there's so much potential for how we could do it.
Yes, that's absolutely exciting. That's amazing. I'm so looking forward to that part. How different it's going to look, how raw it has to be, right. Like the first time people go back, I know Europe has gone back, but in America, when we're able to come back with each other and
and it's okay to like create socially distanced shows, right? Like there's a way. It was interesting. So I've been a professor at the University of Michigan for 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I left to go back into the profession right when everything collapsed. So
Mm-hmm.
it's like I thought I had 9 new productions, and then they've all gotten decimated through 2022. Like, I mean, I literally have like no more shows. I've done a lot of artistic work that's like
Yeah.
never see the light of day. We don't know. Maybe shows are postponed, some are canceled. But anyway, so I was at the University of Michigan and I was directing a scene at Pagliacci between Nedda and Silvio, and we decided that they were like not going to do this love scene next to each other, right? I was like, you guys are in 2 separate spaces, you're doing this over the phone, you share a wall, you can't actually touch each other, go. And it was like so illuminating. I mean, it was like so much different stuff came out about like this relationship and the nuances of what it means to communicate with someone else. And it didn't have to be like the normal staging where they're like all up on each other. Like there was so much other nuance that it's made me think a lot about, well, socially distanced theater. There are ways of having scenes where people are far apart from each other, and it just changes the dimension of what these scenes mean, what it's possible. Of course, with your scene partner, you want a symbiote. You want them there.
Mm-hmm. Of course.
But simultaneously, it's like until we can be at a place where we can be that close to each other, we have to modify. What does that mean? How can it look?
Right. Which is going to be was going to be challenging to theaters. Challenging.
Really challenging.
Yeah, it's not challenging to organizations, but we'll get it done because we have to do it. We need music, we need art.
Yeah. And I'm all for the reruns of shows, and all for people's home performances, and all for all the sort of electronic versions of intaking it. But I will say, like, why I love it is because I love it live. I love hundreds of people on stage and thousands of people in the audience, and that experience you do not get from a Zoom or an electronic version.
Not at all. So if you weren't an opera director, what would you do? If you weren't in the arts, what would you do?
Oh my gosh. It's interesting. I feel like I've like could not be in the arts, but well, when I was a kid I wanted to be an oceanographer.
Oh, look at you.
I know. I loved fish. I loved the ocean.
So Japanese of you, right?
So Jeff, I was telling my partner Jordan Dan how much I was like, I love fish. I want to be an oceanographer when I was a kid, but I did. I live from California, so we were by the ocean, and of course Japan is surrounded by water, and
Right.
yeah, I just loved the ocean. So, but I don't think that's what I would have ended up doing, right? Like I think that requires a lot of maybe math and science.
Yeah, too much school. Too much school.
Yeah. So I think the other thing that I probably would end up doing is I think that I would want to serve the underserved. I think that I would want to do something, with inner city communities, whether it is, like working with the homeless or, spearheading any number of things. But like I have a deep passion for people, and I have a deep passion for, those who aren't being heard. And so I think I would do something along those lines. My dad is interesting because my dad, he is a clinical psychologist, but also a pastor, which is why we moved to Singapore. And he became like the Dr. Phil of Singapore.
I love that.
He had his own, like Dr. Ozawa was on the radio, right? He had his own like talk show, radio show thing. So it's like, my parents traveled all over Asia serving the needy, and like partaking in that, being around that, I think deeply influenced me in a way. And that's been actually some of the rub with opera, right? Like I've got to say, some of that tension is like, why is it only rich people? Why are there no other people here who really should experience this music?
Right.
So yeah, I've thought a lot about that. And my partner Jordan, he's a speech pathologist, and his deep passion is working with those with autism and disability. And so he's going to be working on the South Side in a month in a school. And he was working in Detroit when we were in Michigan. He was like the only one entire school. And he has like a deep passion for it. And so it's been, it's like, I think that there are aspects to, what might I do if I weren't an opera that link to all of that.
Right. Of course. I mean, but it all goes back to serving people, right? That's what we do.
Yeah.
That's a part,
Yeah.
Of it. I don't know if people have questions. Everyone's been so quiet, dipping in and out.
I know. I'm going long, so I probably shouldn't.
Yeah, no, you're fine. You're totally fine. No, is there anything else you want to talk about? Anything else you want to tell us about?
Oh.
Because we talked about so many things. Oh my goodness.
We talked about so many things. And, I don't know. Yeah. I love opera. I love people.
We need to get back to work.
We need to get back to work.
Yeah. I mean, there's been a lot of crazy stuff going on on this here internet. So we need to get back. Oh, Russell asked a question. Oh, about advocating for typecasting. Is that it, Russ? But are you advocating for typecasting? No, of course not. What happened? Did we miss it?
Yeah, wait, I'm looking for.
I'm so hopeful for upcoming. Yeah. And was it? I mean, are you interested? I don't know, Russ. Would you? I want a butterfly production that isn't Asian at all. Right. We did talk about that. Russell and I talked about that.
Oh.
How would that work?
With no Asians.
Well, it isn't Asian at all.
Oh, that butterfly isn't Asian, or the whole entire everybody?
I want a butterfly production that isn't Asian at all.
Yeah, well, you know what's funny is usually butterfly isn't Asian at all because they're always played by white people.
I mean, maybe he's taking it out of
Asia.
Of Asia.
I think what's hard about that, like if you were to say, hey, we're going to take butterfly out of Japan, is sort of like the context. It's sort of like saying, hey, take Porgy out of, I don't know. It's a little hard with butterfly. It's easier with Turandot, right? Retelling the story. Yeah, because Turandot is a little more fantastical. You could actually remove it from China and not have all of that kind of stuff going on. Butterfly is a little harder because it is, there's an essence of like realism within it. And it might be that you take it out of, Meiji era Japan. I will share that I actually conceived of a totally retelling, revisionist take on butterfly that I've shared with a couple companies. And we're moving forward with it. But I feel like I can't say anything about it because it's so, yeah. But I will say that, yes, I think that there are ways of taking butterfly, retelling it, totally reconstructing the thing, and it coming out differently right now. I don't know if you can take it out of Asia though, or Japan. Like I think it's, that would be tricky to do. I think maybe, I don't know. That's so interesting.
Thought-provoking. I mean, I think you can take Porgy out of South Carolina, and you can take it and put it in the, in any community, particularly ethnic communities. I know that's very controversial, and I know people are like, no, but why not South America?
Yeah, I mean, I guess butterfly could be South American, Hispanic or Latina. I mean, butterfly could be. I mean, maybe that's possible. Yeah, right. Growing up in Peter Sellers' production, Figaro and the Trump Tower. I'm interested to see that again.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to do some thinking on that. That's fascinating.
You should do it. I know some company will be like, okay, whatever. They'll. I mean, now the audience is the thing. Well, they, because they love, especially the traditionalists, they will love to do. They want to see, all of the things they want. They love that.
I know.
Yeah, Porgy is different because it's in the copywriting. Well, yeah. People you have to be Black, but if you do Afro-Cuban, I don't know, or Afro Latino, whatever that is. It's it's that intertwining cultures, the rhythms, the dance, the music, all that stuff is very much a part of it. But I agree. Would you want to leave us with anything? I mean, I feel like we talked about so much.
Talked about so much stuff, so much stuff. I don't know.
Yes.
I mean, I just want to send like, hope and positivity and love out into the internet, because I just think that
Mhm.
people need it during this time. I think this is a
Abs-
really, really difficult period that we are all living through.
Yes, yes, complex. I see what you're saying. It is a really difficult time. And, I mean, as singers, we can, like, or musicians in general can sing to the screen, sing to the phone, sing to the computer in a way. But, you as a director, how is it that you can exercise your craft
Right.
and to share with people?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. Because it's like I need people.
Yeah, exactly. To do the thing. Are there any projects that you want to do virtually?
I've been a little bit, I have to say, after losing all of my work,
Hmm.
it just really hit me so hard, just artistically, that I've kind of removed myself a little bit from the conversation because I'm
Hmm.
sure people have lots of ideas and many people are very, very excited to just like be doing it all electronically. But I think that I've removed myself just to rethink, who I am as an artist, what I want to say, how do I engage with it, and just to allow all the artistry that I have created for these other productions to just like be present, before I like shift gears into a new medium,
Hmm.
because it's different, right? I mean, the internet form of these things is really, really different. Communication's different, interpersonal relationships is different, and I think I'm kind of like assessing where I'm at with that, in terms of curating and directing.
Hmm.
Um, and also, but directing can be so many different things, in terms of what I can have, what skills I have that I could, bring to the table.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. More comedies. We need more comedies.
Oh, we need more comedies. Oh my
We need more
gosh.
fun.
More fun, more comedies.
who's gonna write the COVID opera that's actually funny and not like
I know.
crazy?
I know. It's like we need some lightness, some humor, and
Hmm.
I think what we were saying before with just, the community at large, it's like we need each other.
Yes.
We need to be with each other and speaking to each other, even if it's, electronically, just to know that we all have each other in each other's mind. Like we
Yeah.
care about each other, and now send each other many, many times.
Hmm.
But yeah, I think this is about, in many respects, bringing people together when everyone's so isolated and
Hmm.
alone and far apart from each other.
Yeah, exactly. I see people coming out of the woodworks that weren't there before, you know, coming slowly out of the COVID haze or whatever. Yes, we do need more comedy. Somebody write a comedy, please, you know. But anyway, Matthew Ozawa,
Thank you.
this has been wonderful. We
Wonderful.
need to have more laughs.
Yes, more laughs, more laughs.
More
I
laughs.
always have lots of crazy stories to tell, so
I mean, come on, tell some stories
tell
then.
some stories. Well, I already told you the prostitute story.
Yes.
Oh my God. I mean, but every day of my life is a little bit of a comedy. I mean, it's not, right? But it's just like there's constantly stuff. I don't know. Oh, I guess I'll tell one other tiny little story with
Come
the
on, tell
move,
the story.
right? Because it's like life is dramatic.
Uh
Is like
huh.
right before moving here, I needed to like get stuff out of my garage because of course I had a car in Michigan, when I never had a car my entire life until I
Hmm.
moved to Michigan. I didn't even learn how to drive till I was 21 years old. Mind you, Singapore, the drinking age is 16, the driving age is 21,
Uh
a little
huh.
bit different. But anyway, I was like clearing some stuff to Jordan and I were making room for boxes in our garage, and there was like a full on spider infestation, like so many spiders, and I was like of different kinds, and I was like I must annihilate them, and of course my partner very, nature loves, like, please don't, let's not do anything. But of course, I bought Raid, and I was like spraying, but then of course, I got it in my eyes because I was spraying it in the air, and it just, life is crazy, and you just have to embrace it and allow things to be, and know that we really can't take ourselves too seriously.
No.
That we
I'm
do need
learning how
humor.
to do that. I'm learning how to do that. It's
Yeah,
very difficult.
it's hard, but it's like life. This too shall pass, right?
Yeah.
Like we will be in a new phase, and we will be headed into other times of life and existence. We will, of course, grieve, but we will laugh, and we just need to take it moment by moment, day by day.
Moment by moment, day by day. Not take yourself too seriously.
Exactly.
And just try to do the work. Yes. Yeah. Well, thank you. As a Kevin Short said, thank you. And
Thank you.
Yes, is coming on soon. And Michael, thank you guys for tuning in.
Thanks.
Matthew, you have to come back another time.
Would love it.
Yes.
Yeah,
So we have to come back and tell some more. I always invite people back. People back because I feel like there's something that somebody didn't say, or if somebody wanted to come on with someone, or just
I'll think of some stories.
We'll do story time.
Story time with Ozawa.
Ozawa.
Yeah.
Kiki. Yes. Thank you all for coming back again on Thursday for Kiki Combos. We'll be back same time next week with a fantastic singer. But we'll be back earlier. So that gives it away. We'll be back earlier because we will have a European artist on next week. But I think 2:00, middle of the day. But anyway, you guys are so great about sharing the videos and tuning into YouTube. But Matthew, thank you. I look forward to working with you.
Love. Looking forward to working together. Yes.
Yes. And unpack all your your life in Chicago. I'm glad you're safe.
With so many friends, so many good people.
Yes. Yes. All right, you guys.
Okay.
Bye.
Take care.
See you next week.
Bye.